Oh, that's me. That's me there. Well, I think I just took over her desk for a little bit. Since she's not here with us today, so I just snuck on in here. That's it.
You better get out of there before she finds out you messing around with her stuff.
Hey, I'm gonna put everything back the way I found it. How about that?
Look, which was already a disorganized mess. So that shouldn't
Okay,
be
right.
easy. I hope she don't hear this. We love
Okay.
Sharita. She's actually out today. Where's she at, Ron?
She is at a conference, and she was complaining because it's outdoors, and I wished her well as she went outdoors. Okay.
Yeah, stay hydrated, honey. Stay
Yes,
hydrated.
indeed. Yes, I told her, I said, I used to camp out and things like that when I was younger, but with all she was complaining about the bugs, and I didn't disagree with her either. Okay.
Well, she is a queen. I will
Yes.
say that. She is a
I-
queen. I love Sharita. She will be
oh
missed today. It looks like it's going to be me and you today, and
yeah.
we have a special important guest, Attica Scott,
Oh yes.
uh,
They're
who
here for
we'll introduce in a little bit. But what you got for us today, Ron?
So we again, my name is Ryan, and I'm just filling in as a co-host today, stepping in the absence of our Sharita. So we thank everybody for joining. Of course, let's make sure that we please hit that like, that share, that subscribe button on all social media platforms. We want to hear from you. You can chime in on the in the comment section, ask your questions, put your comments in. This isn't just a one man show. This is everybody, community together. As we go through
Yeah.
this, you can also check out our social media, as well as our website, www.kyhrc.org. And there's plenty to look through there. Get your naloxone there, ask more questions, get involved with us. We would love for you to participate, partner, and join with us as we engage, educate, and empower our community. Um, for a little bit of news that we got, uh, so keeping up with KYHRC, we have a few things that are coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and we want you to be a part. We would love for you to join us. First we have our slideshow here. All right. Well, that ain't working. Cool beans. Don't worry about it. So we have also with us on September 23rd, Save a Life Day. We are having a weekend of Save a Life event. So September the 23rd, we are having a virtual session. On September the 25th, we will be giving out free naloxone in the Jefferson County area. And so if you go on our website, go on our social media, we will have those locations that you can come and visit us from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Join in with us and YPR Kentucky. We would love to have you participate with us. We will be at the Hillenbrand House Health Fair, 1235 South 3rd Street on September the 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. On September the 20th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we will be at the Holy Trinity Community Health Fair. That is 501 Cherrywood Road on at September 26th, sorry, these new contacts. September the 26th, from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., we will be at the Bridgehaven Health Fair on 950 South 1st Street. We will also be on the September the 27th. We have two events that we will be at the KAHP Maternal Health Expo, and that'll be at 1508 West Kentucky Street. And then also that same day, from 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., we will be at the TFWHG Kojic Praise Festival, and that will be held at 10400 Old Preston Highway. And on September the 28th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will be at Holy Family Health Fair. That is 3926 Poplar Level Road. October the 11th, we will be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will be at Redeemer Lutheran Church Annual Festival and Health Fair, 3640 River Park Drive. And on November the 15th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., we will be at the Big Bob event, and that is 1325 Bluegrass Avenue. And so we want you to invite you out if you are available on any of those dates. Come and join us. We would love to have you. We would love to come out and talk with us. Get you some naloxone, get you some testing strips, get you some information. It may not be for you, but it may be for someone that you love. So keeping up with KYHRC.
Yes, we are out. We are out here.
Yes,
We've been out here. Next month, Ryan, is 11 years that we've been in the organization in the state of Kentucky.
yes, indeed.
Like you mentioned, a lot of the work that we do is in the Louisville metro area in Kentucky. We also provide services throughout the whole Commonwealth of Kentucky. Also, with the co-host Sharita and I, we've been able to do things nationally and internationally.
Well,
So
speaking of
it's
speaking of that, how did the KAAP conference go?
yeah, the Kentucky Addiction Professional Conference in Lexington, Kentucky on Friday.
Hmm.
My lovely co-host Sharita and I, we had the pleasure and opportunity about speaking from harm reduction. Uh, Meeting people where they're at was the actual name of the session to a little over 200 professionals from mostly from Kentucky,
Okay,
and everybody was locked in.
that's
I
good.
mean, the focus and the attention that we got, it really let us know that what we have to talk about is so important. Not because we're so important,
Hmm.
because of what we talk about is important. It's needed when we think about addiction treatment, when we think about mental health
Hmm.
disorders. September's recovery National Recovery Month,
Yes,
and so we can't talk about all of these different segments of our healthcare system really without talking about harm reduction and being informed in harm reduction.
right,
And the whole thing about meeting someone where they're at isn't just having a brick and mortar in their community or doing outreach,
right.
but it's really learning about our own personal biases, our own prejudices, our own resistance that prevents us from meeting folks where they're at. And so, really, we have to meet ourselves first. It starts with me and it ends with me. And before I can meet you where you're at, I got to know where I'm at in relationship to you.
And I definitely, I can relate. Being that's how I ended up here in Kentucky with you guys, being able to join in on this recovery road, and it's actually been absolutely amazing, life changing. But the best part about it for me has been that. I'm glad that I've been helped, but now I am in the position where, and only thanks to God for real, that I can now be a help to somebody else. But like you just said, in order for us to be able to help somebody, we have to first help ourselves.
Right.
I had a lot of barriers. I had a lot of things that I was putting in front of me, and I didn't even realize it. it. And so being that, noticing that, taking on that, and being able to have professionals and people in community, people that actually have a passion and a love for this work, it helped me to now be able to stay strong almost 3 years now. So listen, the work that we do, and I heard you say something, and I got to correct you because you said it's not that we are important. No, people like you are important to people like us that we serve, and then also what helps me is the lived experience helps me to be able to connect and engage in the best way possible, because if you haven't been through nothing and you're trying to help somebody to get through something, they'll listen, but yeah, they
Yeah,
get a
yeah.
little tough.
Well, recovery looks good on you,
Thank you.
and it looks good to see how you continue to evolve in your own recovery process. Shout out, National Recovery Month. This
Yeah.
still is September, so we still are in National Recovery Month. There's a lot of things that have been happening all over. Before we get into our wonderful guest today, Ryan, I'm curious, like, when you think about your life today and you think about, recovery as a part of that, what's the thing in your recovery that you're like most happy about or most grateful for?
Um, the how it brought me back to, one, how it brought me back to a state of sanity. It was to the point where I felt like I was going insane. And so now to be able to have a clear mind. But the most important thing to me, though, and I ain't gonna get emotional, but um, the way that my family now has our relationship.
Yeah.
Our relationship had gotten really strained for a moment, and I never saw that
Mhm.
happening. I never wanted that to happen. And so to hear my grandfather, I went home last weekend, and my granddad was like, "Well, what you need me to? You need me to get your plane ticket? You need me to get your rental car?" I said, "No, I don't need none of that. I got it." And he said, "Whoa." And I said, "Yeah, I'm to a place now that I can handle things on my own, because I know how to handle my life a whole lot better." So,
Yeah.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Recovery's really helped me grow up
Uh huh.
into, I'll say a man, but really recovery's helped me grow up into an adult.
Yeah,
And now I have a deeper appreciation for
yeah,
the things that I value, the most in my own life as a result of being in the recovery process.
yeah.
It's painful, it's grueling. There's
Mhm.
times when I don't think there's going to be a payoff or that it's going to be worth it, and
Right.
still here we are,
Yeah,
and we're a testament that the most important qualities that we all possess, that we all have,
yeah.
is resilience and
Mhm.
perseverance.
Yeah.
And if we can keep those two things in the front of our mind,
Mhm.
we can make it through anything that we're going through. And I'm glad to be here. You surprised me this afternoon. I wasn't expecting you, but I'm grateful that I get to share this moment with you, Ryan.
Yes, indeed, and to add on to what you just said, the resilience, and the persistence, but also the endurance. And I'm a church boy, so and one of the scriptures says that the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the one that can endure to the end. And I'm in this for the long haul. I'm not gonna stop it. I ain't gonna let nobody or nothing stop it. If you try to stop it, you're gonna get ran over. How about that?
I like that. I
Yeah,
needed to hear that today. I've had a hell of a week with my
yeah,
own mental health.
yeah,
And I really needed to hear that.
yeah.
I forget about the enduring piece of what it is that we do and that I do in my own
Most
recovery journey. So,
Most definitely. So listen, I want to hear, we can go on and on and on about this, because we got the lived experience with it. But we have a very, very, very special guest with us today, and I can't wait for her to come on and share with us some wisdom, some knowledge, and some good old nuggets. I'm sure she's ready. But today we have with us the former Kentucky State Representative. She is a revolutionary organizer, mother, writer, and truth teller. She is the director of special projects at Forward Justice Action Network. She highlights of her advocacy start go along with Breonna's Law for her leadership in Louisville, and she just with her her everything. She sets the stage, and to be able to see what survival, healing, and justice is all about. And so I'm gonna step off, and we're gonna bring on our wonderful Attica Scott to join in the conversation. I'm gonna leave y'all to it, and I'm gonna come and go grab me a snack, and I'll be back. So Attica Scott, come on in. Got it. Oh, go ahead. There we go. Hey there, Attica.
Hey, thank you for
Hey,
that wonderful introduction, Ryan.
You are such a wonderful person. Listen, I'm gonna go grab me a snack, and I'll be back with y'all in just a moment. Okay.
Sounds good.
All
yeah,
righty.
so good to see you.
You too, Henry. So glad to be here.
Yeah, you are. Every time I see you, you just are radiating
Oh,
with so much beautiful and positive energy. So
thank
thanks for joining us today. And what we'll do, we'll get right to it. I
you.
mean,
Okay.
you may have had a chance to see our podcast or listen to our
Yeah.
podcast. I know you know Sharita really well, and so
Mhm.
we get right to the point. We have real, raw, and authentic conversations, and I'm ready to get started with this. So
All right.
we know that you've witnessed and endured some political violence, right? Both as an elected official and as a black woman leader. How do you understand recovery in that context from your
Mhm.
own lived experience?
Absolutely. So I'll start, Henry, by saying that part of the ways in which I was able to endure um, so much of what I experienced politically is because of my upbringing. So, one of the reasons why Kentucky HRC is near and dear to my heart is because my mom struggled with addiction to alcohol and drugs. And when I was 16, she died from an overdose. My brother was
Mm,
12. And so I come from that experience. And I have always wanted to try to do work that made sure that no other child would have to experience what I experienced as a child. And so that's what I bring to this. And that's what helped me to have the ability to endure so much of the political violence that I experienced. And so when I think of that today, Henry, in terms of recovery, I think about how our stories and our experiences ground us in who we are today. That it
mm.
makes us who we are, whatever it is we've been through, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, all of it make us who we are today. So that's what I think about when I think of political violence and recovery.
And that is true. You're so right. And then if we just talk about, it's also true, right, for the collective that all of us together in our own way, that is also true. Like we're living out our individual stories, we're living out our family stories, we're living out our community stories, and then we're living out the overall story of humanity.
Yes.
I'm curious too, like what would you say like the symbolic nature of political violence is,
Mm,
maybe that you've seen or that you've witnessed?
hmm Well, so what I've experienced, the political violence I experienced while in office, came from this place of, at least I believe it did, came from this place of wanting to silence my voice as a Black woman in elected office. And Henry, you and your viewers probably know that I was the first Black woman elected to our state legislature in almost 20 years. It was more than 19 years. And then when I was there, I was the only Black woman for 4 years. That's not a bragging right at all, because that's a failure of our system to be more representative of all of
Yeah.
us, right? We should
Yeah.
have a more representative democracy. I share that to say that's part of the reason why I experienced what I did, because it needed to happen to me so that the Black women who came after me wouldn't have to experience what I did. So whether it was literally being in our state capitol and having people surround me with guns, literally surrounding my body with guns so I couldn't get away, or whether it was being unjustly arrested with my teenage daughter during the protests during the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement, I know that came from a place of attempts to silence me. And your point about community is so true, Henry. I would not have been able to make it through any of that had it not been for the community of support that wrapped me in love and solidarity to say, we got you and we're with you.
Well, I want to share this, and I'm pretty open, but I also hold the tension of speaking out against what my own judgments and feelings are. But I know the circles that I've sat in, when I've sat in with people of color who are outspoken. But that's the thing, like outspoken, like no, like it's not that any more than one person is outspoken. We all have a voice,
Mhm.
right? Like we all have a voice, but it reminds me of, oh well, it's the angry black man, or it's the angry black woman, and I think that's important that we unpack that, because I don't see it as being angry as much as I see it being very passionate
Mhm.
and speaking from a place of reverence and a place of authenticity, a place of sincerity. But what it does, though, it makes us feel uncomfortable because it challenges us to sit with our own prejudices and our own biases. And as part of that conditioning, as part of that programming, as part of like what we've been led to believe, right? So I'm curious, as you hear me say that, do you have any thoughts about that, or any lived experience about that?
Absolutely. People throw out the angry Black woman trope to try to shut us down. And it
Yeah,
doesn't work, right? It's so pitiful. It doesn't work. And I will say that there's probably no colleague that I served with on Louisville Metro Council or in the state legislature that could say that I was disrespectful to them. Even when they would say, call me by my first name, I would never refer to them by their first name. It was always Representative so and so. It was always Councilwoman so and so, because I know that I earned that spot just like they did. Right. And so I'm going to give them that honorific. I'm going to give them that position or that title out of respect. Now, we can disagree on a whole lot. That doesn't mean we need to be disrespectful. We can
yeah,
disagree, but we don't have to be disrespectful. So that's my response to what you just shared.
yeah. Help us re-experience that moment, right, when you got appointed to that position as state representative. And I don't know how that happens. I don't know how it goes down, right? I don't know if you get a phone call like the NFL draft and they're like, you're in, or I don't know. I know there's a commencement and stuff, but what was that like in that moment for you, and all that you identify with and all that you are, as you take a breath into that moment, knowing that you're going to be the first Black woman state representative in the Commonwealth of Kentucky for over 2 decades? What was that like? What were you thinking and feeling in that moment?
Yeah, so I was watching the election night return. So I was elected to the seat. I was first appointed to Louisville Metro Council, then ran the next year and won my election, and then
Mhm.
3 years later ran and lost that reelection. So then about a year later, I ran for state representative, won the primary, and it was a 30 plus year incumbent who was in that primary that I won. And then in November, I'm watching the results come in, and I started getting phone calls saying congratulations. Because at some point I turned it off, right? Because it's stressful for me. I'm like, I don't need to. I'm not watching that stuff. I'll find out at the end. And then I started getting phone calls saying congratulations, and I was like, what? What? I won? Oh my goodness! So it was an amazing feeling to know that the community that I was working to serve had gone and knocked on doors with me, made phone calls, donated $5, $10, whatever it was that they had to give. And together we had this victory. And together we were going to our state capital. And Henry, you're right. I got sworn in. And the day that I got sworn in, more than 150 people from across Kentucky showed up to support me getting sworn in. I mean, there were like 40 kids from a local elementary school who were brought up. People from Eastern Kentucky, from Appalachia showed up, folks from Lexington, Louisville, from all over. And it said a lot about what people have been hungry for and waiting for and thirsting for.
If we're silenced, then there's a missed opportunity all the way around. When we're silenced, the people that identify with my lived experience or people that identify with what I believe, they don't get to hear that. And so what begins to happen is we create this dystopian, hopeless society that there is nothing to look up to or nothing to look forward to that gives us a reason to keep going. We all have a reason to keep going, you know. And I appreciate you sharing that. How was it for your daughter?
Oh goodness. So I was with my son when I got the news.
Okay.
I had to be out of town for work at a conference on election day. I'm usually always here on election day, but I had to be out of town. And so my son went with me on that trip, and we were together when I got the news, and he was so excited. And my daughter was excited. We got on the phone and we had a conversation. But Henry, what really I believe moved her was that day I was sworn in, and she was in the gallery of the House of Representatives in our state capitol in Frankfurt. And she's looking down, and there's this amazing picture a dear friend of mine took of my daughter watching her mother get sworn in. And every time I talk about it, I start to tear up because never in her lifetime had she seen that. She was a teenager, and never in her lifetime was there a Black woman serving in our state legislature, and she got to witness and experience that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. I know you like to travel a lot. You know,
Yes.
I follow you a bit. I'm not on social media anymore. I was on social media. I'm taking a indefinite break from it. But I see you like to get around the country, and I see you like to get around the world.
Yes.
And I'm curious. I have a reason for asking these questions. Where are some of in the U.S. and maybe even abroad? Where are some of your favorite places that you've traveled?
Ooh, so China was one of my favorite places, and Henry, it has a connection to this very conversation. So I stayed in a rural community in China, and I was teaching. So at the time, I was working at JCTC at Jefferson Community and Technical College. I was an adjunct professor there, and a colleague said, "Hey, we do this trip every year. We go to Asian countries and we teach." It's an English immersion program for the students, and they were like the equivalent of seventh through eighth grade here in the United States. And I went, and Henry, where we were staying in this community, was right across the street from a clinic. Really, it was a hospital slash clinic that worked with people who struggle with addiction. I said, look at that. Look at that. Right next door to us, something I never hear about in China. And here we are in this rural community. And every day I get to look out and see people walking around with the nurse or see people sitting outside doing whatever they're meditating, whatever it is that they were doing for their healing purposes. And I get to be reminded every single day of why I get to show up and how I get to show up. So China was one of my favorite international trips. And then here in the States, that's a good question. Oh, that's a tough one. I like a lot of places. I will say DC is one of my favorite places. It's being occupied right now, so I can't say right now. But before the occupation, DC was one of my favorite places to visit in the States.
And what do you notice when you think about DC and when you think about the U.S. You think about the rest of the world, tying it back into political violence? What are some of the things that you've seen, witnessed, been a part of? What are trends maybe right now that you're privy to kind of help let our audience know what is going on throughout the rest of the world?
Absolutely. So, as we know, Puerto Rico is owned by the United States. And when I went to visit Puerto Rico, Henry, I was so disturbed at how this country has abandoned Puerto Rico. I mean, it has experienced natural devastation, and you could still see the results of it. I mean, it just said that's violence. People should not have to live in situations where there's still standing water, or the roads are so torn up that you hold on, but you know you're about to go over a bump because it's so torn up. Like, people shouldn't be living like that. This country, they deserve better, and this country should treat people better.
And if we're going to make promises, and if we're going to exploit, and if we're going to colonize, right? That that hasn't changed. Imperialism has not changed. The face of it might have, the delivery might have, but it's still there, and it's like it's hidden in plain sight in most places these days. And you'd have to really know what you're looking for in order to see it. You know, the same's true for most of those Caribbean islands that have been exploited by Western colonizers.
Mhm. That's exactly right. Yep. I mean, and in the United States, I remember it was probably 5 years after Hurricane Katrina, and I was in New Orleans with a friend of mine. We were at a women's conference. Why in the world are we still seeing the same thing we saw in Puerto Rico, standing water? Why are we still seeing crumbling buildings, crumbling facades that haven't been repaired? Why are we still seeing this damage? Like, we should be seeing rebuilding happening. And it's as if this country decides it's going to take its time if it's mostly Black people or people of color area that we're talking about.
Yeah, and one thing though that doesn't change throughout history is at the end of the day, the human spirit, it's still there.
Yes.
It still lives on. Sometimes in human form when
Yes.
we can survive, you know, certain things. Other times the human spirit can live on through music, it can live on through art, it can live on through stories. And I think we share that collective experience that, like, no matter what happens to us, or no matter what we go through, right? The spirit and the essence, it continues. But we
Yes.
have to do a better job. Still in 2025, this many years after Hurricane Katrina, all of the other things that are going on, we can do better. Certain populations can do better. And I think collectively we could do better at really collaborating and getting on the same page. Um,
Absolutely.
well, let's bring it back. How does political violence disrupt the process of recovery, whether it's personal, communal, or even democratic?
In so many ways, Henry. I mean, we talk about collective power building. Political violence is designed to keep us from building that power collectively. Political violence is designed to keep us separate from one another, constantly battling one another, constantly pulling one another down when we should be lifting one another up, because people have this pick me mentality, because they want to be part of institutions and systems that actually don't care about them. They're just using them. And that impacts our ability to heal. If we're constantly at war with one another, it's almost impossible to heal as community, as a collective, and as people. I think about this experience, the story I shared at the beginning of this conversation. My mother could not heal when she was constantly trying to make ends meet, living in the projects, getting evicted, moving from place to place. My brother and I were in foster care for a while, so we were taken away from her. How in the world is she supposed to heal when everything is being thrown at her to make her feel like she can't go on anymore?
Yeah, and for certain people and certain populations, there's so much more. I think that has to be worked on or worked through, um, really, in order to even get into the process of recovery.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. And we need more of those kinds of resources in our communities that support us in that ability to work through it. Because, I mean, I would argue that many people aren't capable of working through things by themselves because we don't know how. So we
Yep.
need that expertise and that support.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how, but also we are deeply terrified of one another.
Yes.
You know, um, it is very uncomfortable to sit with another person, especially another person that I'm drastically different than.
Mhm.
And it's like the differences, whatever it is, are blatantly obvious,
Mhm.
you know. But the only way to heal, the only way to really connect, is to authentically and unapologetically show up in front of other people. And sometimes it may not necessarily be about saying anything.
Mm.
It may be more about holding space and listening.
Yes.
And I think, and this is a general statement, I don't represent, white people, but I think overall this is something that, white people can do a better job of. Because,
Mhm.
there's all this codependency and there's all this rescuing and there's all this guilt and there's all of this shame. And, if I really come to terms with it
Mhm.
in my own history, it can be really difficult to look across and see, somebody else that have been a victim or that have been appropriated as a result of really the history that we all share together.
Mhm. I'm so I appreciate you for bringing that up, Henry, because I'm part of a collective and it's multiracial. And so I'm facilitating this group with another Black woman and two white women. And one of the things that we've challenged this group to do, and there are about 40 people in this group, is white women connect with a Black woman or one woman of color who's part of this group to have a conversation that is not transactional. You're neither one of you are looking for something in particular, but white women, we want you to sit and listen. Listen to what the Black women and women of color are sharing with you. Sit and listen. You're not here to problem solve unless you're asked for that advice, but listen. And I
Yeah.
tell you, I've already had somebody respond and say that was a white woman respond and say that was one of the best things that she's done in a long time.
And I think if we did that in groups, if we did that at events, if we did it with our neighbors, if we did it at school drop off, at our kids' sporting events, like if we naturally approached people to really want to get to know their story, that's where the power is because there's truth in that,
Mhm.
right? And if we're told to believe a bunch of lies
Yes.
and we don't ever get to explore the real meaning of another person or a population or a part of town, then we're only left to the information that we've been told.
Yes.
So if you're listening, we have to investigate. If you're listening to this, we have to investigate. We have to sit with the uncomfortableness
Yes.
of our own stuff
Mhm.
because it's also uncomfortable on the other side of the table with the other person, whoever that is. It could
Yeah.
be, a white man to a white man, or it could be, we're not, specifically, talking about race, but I think the challenge overall is to talk to and connect with the people that are closest to you in your life.
Yes.
And you may find that what you've needed has
Mhm.
been hidden right there in front of you the whole time.
Mm.
But if we avoid the conversation because it's uncomfortable and I'm afraid, then we never really get to experience, I think, that part of humanity, which is so deeply hardwired into our brains to want community and to want connection and to want to discover and uncover truths about
Mhm.
each other because we're all teaching each other. We can
Yes.
all use more authentic connection with each other.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Every day I'm learning something new from someone every day. And every day I hope that I'm sharing something that people learn something new from me, or maybe they're able to dig into something differently. So I agree with you. It's a lifelong journey.
I just turned 40 last year. This is what I realized. Hey, I look good.
That's
Shoot.
right.
Y'all can't follow me. I'm not on social media, so but y'all know where to find me. Um, what I realized this last year is I'm unlearning.
Mhm.
I'm unconditioning.
Yes.
Um, what what I've been taught directly, indirectly, consciously, and unconsciously. What I believe, not even for this lifetime, but for even my parents and my grandparents' lifetime. And it has been a painful
Mhm.
process for me through the way it's been an initiation of sorts because it's really challenged and has conflicted beliefs that I've held very close to me for many, 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 many years.
Mhm.
And so I'm in a phase of my life now where I think we all go through it. Is I'm unlearning and I'm relearning.
Mhm.
The difference now is for me, I get to decide the information I take in, where it comes from. I get to decide what I do, how I disseminate and integrate that information. And then I get to decide how I regurgitate
Mm.
and share that information with the other people around me. And that is a personal responsibility that we all have as we walk our own path together.
Yes, absolutely. I think about what I've spent decades trying to unlearn, and a lot of that comes from the reality of political violence. That political violence had me trapped in this scarcity mentality that there's not enough, right? But there's bountiful amounts of everything that we could ever need or want. But sometimes it's concentrated with a few, right? And it doesn't go get to the rest of us. So I had to unlearn this mentality of scarcity. I unlearned it in part because I served in a local and state elected office and saw for myself some of that abundance.
Yeah.
And that's been part of my healing journey, from really from birth, from beginning to where I am today. That journey, like I said, it's a lifelong journey of healing. And I needed to heal internally in order to build that collective power that we've been talking about.
Yeah, you spoke to abundance a few times today already. And for our listeners, it is really hard to tap into a gratuitous, abundant mindset when the mind can only think about survival.
Yes. Yes.
And there's a lot of implications, there's a lot of considerations of why one would have a survival mindset.
Mhm.
Um, and so, we've got to, continue to figure out how to break through that individually and communally and in our families. But I believe it's all by design.
Yes.
It's all by design. So, what practices of resistance and healing do you believe that communities must embrace in order to recover and move forward?
Ooh, so I'll start with my own personal work.
Yeah.
I am a woman of faith, and so I have long been involved in my church, served on its community development corporation board. Have a connection with my pastor. I know I can call on him at any time. That's for me. I also have strong connections with family and friends because I know that I need to be there for and with them, and I need them to be there for and with me. There are things I can share and talk to them about that I absolutely would not, put on social media, for example. Um, and so that has helped me to be able to support that community building, right? That community strengthening, and to say, okay, what is it that we as community need to work on? Part of it is conflicts. Like we need to learn to work through conflict because it's real, it exists, it's not something to run away from. Because it really weakens us and the movements we're trying to build when we don't address conflict because it escalates. I think that we as community need to work on more mutual aid and sharing resources, right? If you have it to give, please give. If you don't have it to give and you need, please say what you need so we can try to show up and get you what you need. I mean, we really saw that during the Justice for Breonna Taylor movement at in Justice Square Park. That was mutual aid personified.
Yeah,
And it was beautiful and it was powerful. I want to see that, but I don't want it to be because we're in a crisis situation. I want it to be because that's the way we show up for and with one another.
yeah, yeah. That's the standard, right? Like that. What you're saying is that needs to be the standard, not because there's been some turmoil or some war or some crisis, and we rally together. Like no, we rally every day because that's who we are.
That's right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, we've got a few minutes left. I want you to stay on as Ryan joins us. If you could leave our listeners with like one charge for action. Like what would you want to inspire our audience, our listeners to? It didn't have to be one. It could be a few things. But what's your call to action for us today?
So, for folks who are listening to by any means, my call to action to you is to do one thing as it relates to local government that can make a difference in your or someone else's life. It could be showing up to the next school board meeting and meeting the new superintendent. It could be calling your Louisville Metro Council member and telling them you need a speed hump on your street because the kids are out at the bus stop and the cars come through too quickly. It could be reaching out to the mayor and saying to the mayor, we need more resources for houselessness. We need to make sure that we're housing people, not arresting people. One thing, if there just one thing that you could do at the local level that can make a difference for you or someone else, that is my call to action to you because what I've learned over time, Henry, is that we need more people who are using their powerful voices, which includes the
Right.
phone, using your
Yeah.
powerful voices with local elected officials.
And I normally don't do this, but I want to add something. I want to add something, and it's not to take away from what you just said. But if you're listening, don't let the thought of this isn't going to matter anyways prevent you from not taking action, because the only way that it's not going to matter is if you don't take action.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
That's it.
And it doesn't have to be grandiose, like former state representative Attica Scott says. It could be very small. It could be a phone call. It could be any number of things, but that we're also responsible for the condition that our communities are in. And what I'm taking away from today is part of that responsibility is ownership,
Yes.
collectively owning this. So it was so good to have you on. We're going to wait on
Thank
Ryan to
you.
join us back. Yeah. Hey, Ryan, did you get a snack?
Okay. All right. Is Ryan on mute?
Yes, I was. Okay, there we go. Oh my goodness, that was such a wonderful conversation. Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Attica, for joining us. Listen, y'all had some. I was trying to eat and write at the same time, but y'all were giving some great nuggets. And one thing that I wanted to point out was that. I heard you all say that we can do better and do a better job of listening to one another. There is a Hebrew word called Shema, Shema, and that word has two meanings to it, and it means to hear, but also to hear and obey. And so, that meaning to put some action to what you heard, and so simply just listening, just having holding space for people to be able to talk, just and be able to, and like you, I heard one of you all say, not to be a problem solver because we can't fix it all. but sometimes literally just someone being to able to let down their hair. Now that I got some, I can let it down, but to let down their hair and be able to just be a human and don't have to have all of these masks on all the time. Being able to really engage with someone it takes us a long way. I talked to someone the other day about progressing and healing, and she kept saying, "Well, I'm expecting, I'm looking forward to be, to this, that, and the third." But then she followed up that same statement with, "But I'm stuck in my ways, and I can't know and this." And I was just like, so I listened to her, and I said, "But let's talk about how that is contradictory to where you want to go to if you're not going to be able to break the cycle that you've already been going into and dealing with in order to get to somewhere higher or better." And so again, listen, there's a song by Hezekiah Walker that says, "I need you to survive." We need each other
Yeah.
individually, in community,
Yes.
relationally. We need each other in so many realms. And so everybody can't give that all to you in just one person. So you may need multiple people to be able to assist you in your survival in this life. And so, listen, this has been awesome. Awesome. I know that Sharita, where if she's in the woods, I don't know if she got a signal or not where she's at, but when she listens to this, she's definitely gonna be proud. So Attica, we're gonna put you in the backstage. Again, we thank you so much for joining us. Okay. We're gonna put you in the backstage.
Thank
Let's hang
you.
on
Bye,
with us.
y'all. Okay.
Yeah, thank you
Oh,
so
Attica,
much.
hold on before we leave. How can people reach out to you? How can people contact you if that's available? How can they do that?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So you can follow me on just about on many social media platforms at Attica Scott KY, ATTICASCOTTKY. And I also have a podcast that airs on Fridays at 11 a.m. and it's called hashtag Ask Attica. And
Oh,
Sharita has definitely been one of my guests on Ask Attica. Again, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate you.
yes,
Take care.
indeed.
Okay,
Thank
y'all
you.
take care.
Oh my goodness, Henry, you handled that conversation so well. Hey, listen, we're doing some big and great things here at BAM. So, BAM, there you go. Okay.
We're still recording live, Ryan. So
Okay.
let's hold it together.
Okay.
So, thank you all for joining in today, and thank you for joining in this month, National Recovery Month. Recovery is not only about substances, recovery is about reclaiming our humanity.
Yeah.
And for some people, for a lot of people, reclaiming our humanity from systems that brutalize, from policies that punish, from
Mhm.
violence meant to silence us.
Yeah.
And please like, share, subscribe. Go to our website, kyhrc.org. You can donate through there. You can receive free supplies, harm reduction supplies, and have them confidentially mailed to wherever you're at. And
Mhm.
if you have other ways that you would like to donate, like your time through volunteering, you can also do that through our
Website.
website. And great job, Ryan. You surprised me
Yes.
today.
Yes, indeed. Listen, before we go, I just want to encourage everybody that the conversations that we have here and the topics that we have here, these are not neutral conversations. We aim to center truth. We expose harm. We uplift resistance. And your voice, it carries both lived experience and vision. And so this space is for all all of us to be able to speak boldly about what recovery, what life looks like, even when politics, when untruths, when heartbreak, when things are trying to break us, we can be in a state of recovery, we can be in a state of healing, and we can be in a state of power. So listen, it was fun joining you today, Hen Dog.
It was so good, my brother. It was so good.
Yes,
So
indeed.
till next time, y'all.
Yes,
We'll see
indeed.
y'all.
All right. See you later.